All right, so today I am joined by another great real estate agent inside of our community. He's going to walk you through his story on how he got started in the business and all the way up until the point of last year in 2022, where you were, I think, the number one agent in the market as far as gross volume and all of that. Is that correct?
That's right.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, it's a great story. So I can't wait to unpack that for everybody. So, for context, Christian, how long have you been selling real estate and what market are you in?
Well, Brandon, thank you for having me. I'm in New Jersey and I've been selling real estate 5 years full time.
Okay. So, yeah, you're in a difficult market, a lot of competition, right? And so you've been doing it for 5 years. And how long have you been inside of our program? And how long have we been working together, just for context purposes?
Got started around 2019, late
Yeah.
2020, but I actually didn't tune in until about 6 months ago. That's when
Yeah.
I really started listening and applying.
Yeah. So let's kind of go back and walk people through your journey, right? So you're coming off of 2022, which is your best year in the business, right? And if we go back in time, what were you trying to do? How were you trying to get business that wasn't working that maybe caused you to tune in 6 months ago? I mean, what were you doing that wasn't working?
One time on one of our Monday calls, you talked about the peanut salesman,
Mm,
someone that was, just going after it with the same question: Are you looking to sell? Are you looking to sell? That was my approach in the beginning, and it really drained me. It got me really tired, and so I was looking for something different, and that's when I started listening and tuning in.
yeah. So most of your business now, Christian, that led you to becoming the top agent in your market. The way in which you get your business now, is it all through direct outbound prospecting, or are there other lead generation tactics that you find are working as well?
It's all direct outbound, pretty much expireds. That's
Got it.
always been expireds, but my approach has changed recently.
Yeah. So let's talk about that, right? So it's all direct outbound. You're not spending any money on marketing or advertising. You're not taking, half naked pictures on Instagram and hoping people reach out to list their house with you. It's all you using your skill set that you've learned to go out there and communicate value in the marketplace, and people are taking you up on that. So your specialty is expired listings. Before we unpack that, are you working any other lead pillars, or are you focused mainly on expired listings?
It's been expireds for 5 years.
Yeah.
This recently I started for sale by owner, but it's been expireds.
Well, I think there's a lot to be said for that. I mean, you're focusing on one lead source, and that one lead source, because you've mastered it, allowed you to become the number one agent in your market. It's allowed you to do what you've done, where so many agents want to try 14, 18 different things. No, you just work one pillar, and you have one pillar, and you have one strategy to work that pillar. You're going what we call super deep, not super wide. So let's get into your strategy. First, let's talk about your day. What does your average day look like? How much prospecting are you doing? What time do you get in the office? Break down the average day for Christian.
Average day starts 7 a.m. for me. I make sure that I speak words of faith in the morning, get my morning going, take my dog for a walk, and I get started on the phone no later than 8:30, usually between 8 and 8:15. I'm on the phone in the morning for 2 hours solid. Generally, that's brand new leads, expireds. Typically, at that point, I'll take a break, have lunch, and I'll hit the phones again for a second 2 hour session in the afternoon. The second session is a little bit different because I've noticed that for me, I'm the best and brightest between the hours of 4 and 7. So I
Mm,
make sure that I am on the phone doing some sniper, type calls, uh, follow up calls between those hours. And
yeah.
I make sure I hit about 4 hours a day.
So you're doing 4 hours of prospecting a day. You're doing that
Right.
what, 5 days a week?
5 days a week.
5 days a week. All right. So about 20 hours is spent in outbound lead generation. How
Right.
many appointments does that typically yield you? Like how many people are you going to see every week?
I'm out the door, pretty, about two to three times a week.
Yeah, that's good. So 2 to 3
Last
listing appointments a week?
what?
So 2 to 3 listing appointments per week, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean, last year I saw 68 clients, and that's
Okay.
a bit about my average. About 70 per year is conducted listing appointments. These aren't previews. We're going there with the intention of discussing putting their home for sale.
It's phenomenal. I mean, that's really good, Christian. So let's get into the nitty gritty. I mean, first off, I'm sure you've tried a bunch of different data providers to get expired leads. What have you found to be the best for you? Are you using Vulcan 7? Are you getting them yourself? What have you found to be be?
In my market, I use Land Voice.
Land Voice. Awesome. I haven't heard that
Works
one in a long time.
works for me. I tried RedX, but I switched back.
Yeah.
I
So
came
Land
back.
Voice is yeah. So are you hand dialing mostly? Or are you loading up some type of dialer system, or how do you actually make your outbound phone calls?
Mojo.
Mojo. Okay, so you're loading up into Mojo, getting the data from Land Voice. We load that into Mojo, and then Mojo's your dialer system.
Through the posting pin, I just have to log right in. It's really simple. There are times when I might hand dial certain numbers in my local county because I'm calling 14 counties. New Jersey is
Wow.
so dense that I can go an hour north, south, west, and I can touch 14 counties.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, and you should, right? Because you would drive up to an hour. What is your average commission check?
10.
10,000, right? So you and I have talked about it before. Like it makes sense to drive to a listing appointment that's 40 minutes away for 10 grand. Anybody would do that, right? So how many expired listings do you typically get on the average day, roughly, if you had to guess?
I would say anywhere from, 5, 10 through, I mean, it could be 20, 30.
Yeah. And the market right now, is it shifting? Are you finding that you're getting more and more and more every single week as the market continues to shift?
I'm seeing a little more, right?
Yeah. All right. So now let's talk about the 2 hours. So the initial outbound uh, contacts, I guess that's the question. How many people are you able to get on the phone, Christian, within that first 2 hours?
I would tend to say about 10 or 15
So that's
contact.
really good. I mean, that's great. I mean, you're talking to 10 or 15 people because as you know, I mean, you've seen people ask the same questions like I can't get people on the phone. No, none of these expireds answer. Is there any best practices that you can share that's helped you with your contact rate? Maybe anti-spam, this or other things that you're doing to get more people on the phone?
So, I would say I use my personal cell, but I also have I use Verizon, so I have a second Verizon number. It's not one of these, other, what do you call them?
Like the burner numbers.
Like a burner number. It's not a
Yeah.
burner number. I find that those are all already
Junk.
marked as spam. They're junk.
Yeah.
So I got a second Verizon line, just with no data, so that was a lot cheaper for me. And I go between the two. So I go a one round with my first cell phone. I go a second round with the second number, and typically by that time it's past 10, 9:30, 9:45, and less pickups anyway by that time.
Absolutely. And are you finding that being the first voice, calling them as soon as possible, is the difference of like night and day conversion rates? Like if you're the first voice versus you're the 20th person to call them, are you finding a lot more success the earlier you can have those conversations?
Yeah, if I will continue, even if I can't start before 9, I will. But if I can get on the phone between 8 and 8:15, I know I've got at least 5 more contacts before noon.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. So you said that you changed your approach that has led to some really good results. When you get an expired listing on the phone, Christian, I mean, one of the hardest things to do, as you know, is first break through that initial resistance. a lot of agents are intimidated to prospect expireds because they find it to be the most difficult lead source to convert because of all the competition. So what are you doing on that conversation first to get past their initial resistance and then ultimately set that appointment?
Permission-based selling. That's been my big change. Instead of pushing, demanding that we have that conversation now, I start with hey, this is Christian, can we have a conversation? And that's been huge for me. It takes the pressure off of me, takes it off of them. I know I've got a few seconds at least on the phone with them to continue and get to that next step.
Yeah, I love it. So you're doing something that we teach, and it's a very specific sales technique that we teach to lower that sales resistance, to lower their psychological reactance by giving people the perception that they're in control here. There's no reason for them to get all hot and bothered and upset because you've relinquished that control to the prospect. And yes, we call it permission-based selling. And when you do that, more people are taking you up on those conversations versus just trying to pressure your way into the conversation, which in most cases they abruptly just hang up on you. I'm not going to deal with this type of stuff. So you changed that, which is great. Now, when you get past that introduction, what is it that you're finding that is helping you actually secure an actual listing appointment? Is it motivation? Is it the questions you're asking? Are you using our appointment setting framework? Talk to us about that.
Yeah, the if then. If I could show you a strategy, then will you meet with me? And that's been very helpful. Typically, the people that are interested, they're on the phone. They're not hanging up on you. So you just go along the script and keep it moving.
Yeah, I love it. Of the listing appointments you go on, Christian, call it 2 a week, right? Maybe sometimes more, sometimes less. But if you go on 2 listing appointments a week, will those come as a result of the first contact, or are most of your appointments coming out of follow-up? Where are you getting more of your listing appointment? Yeah.
Pipeline maturity, follow-up.
Yeah. Talk to us about that. Because I think a lot of agents struggle that if they don't get the appointment on the first call, it falls through the cracks and they lose the opportunities. But most of your listing appointments are coming, after the 3rd, 4th, 5th follow-up. Is that right?
Yeah, or more. I mean,
Or more.
I've got contacts 9, 10, 12. I mean, I continually touch them. And it happens in that way. Yeah, it's less and less same day. Although, because you are on the phone being consistent, you will get that same day opportunity and,
For sure.
to nail that same day listing. But less and less same day for me, more and more follow-up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Pressure on me, and it's a little bit more just getting the reps in every day and just pipeline maturity.
I love it. And have you changed anything when it comes to what you consider a lead, like what you consider someone you will follow up with versus not wasting your time? In other words, you probably have been aware there's a lot of agents that join our program initially that try to just follow up with everybody, right? Because they have it's like a scarcity mindset. Is there a set of criteria that you say, this is a good opportunity, I will follow up, versus just putting every Tom, Dick, and Harry in your database and hoping for the best?
So I am learning to put less and less people, more high value, people in my follow up. But I'm guilty that in the beginning I wanted to follow up with everybody. I want the opportunity, but now I'm tailoring it more and more so that it's, so for sure, if they've given me their email, they're getting a follow-up. They're going in my follow-up bucket. If they say, yes, there is an opportunity to earn the business later on, they're getting a follow-up. If they tell me that something went wrong, that's a red, light for me that says, hey, there's an opportunity here for me to come in and restore faith back into the agent, back into the service. And that I know they're going to work through some emotions, some things. That's an opportunity for me as well.
I love it. So you just look for pain, and when there's pain, there's an opportunity to serve. And so Yeah, we've always said that the only the only way a prospect can become a lead is because we've asked for the appointment. So my question for you is, are you focused on looking for an opportunity on the first conversation, and because you didn't get the opportunity, is then the next step is to talk about future follow-up, right? In other words, you're the leads you're generating that become appointments later in life are a result of you asking for the appointment on the first call. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, you must ask for the appointment for sure.
Yeah.
As you say, they aren't a lead until you ask. You got to ask for the business. But
Because they don't know your intentions, right? Otherwise, you're just on the hamster wheel, you're spinning your wheels. All right, so let's talk about your appointment. So you follow up with them. You're probably doing, I don't know, maybe you're calling them every week, maybe you're texting them every week. You're doing some different things. What is it that allows you to get the prospect to say, yeah, you know what, Christian, come on over. We'd like to meet with you and see what you can do. Like, at which point is that happening? What is it that you're saying, or what is it that they're saying? Talk to us about that turning point.
So typically through the follow-ups, they'll give me a timeline. I'm always asking them, when would you like to hear from me again? When can I, so at that point, they're telling me when to call them. And
Amazing.
one of the sellers told me this year, you're the only guy that followed up with me, and
Mm-hmm.
this was a great neighborhood, great home, and it sold. So there's less and less competition after that first day.
Yeah. So really, they're the prospect's driving it, right? You're having a good conversation. You've
Yeah.
asked for an appointment. They say, "Listen, Christian, we'd like to meet with you, but just not right now for whatever reason." You say, "No problem. When would it make sense for us to potentially get together?" And you're having the prospect tell you, and then
That's
you
right.
follow up, and they say, "All right, come on over, Christian." So yeah, I love it. So walk us through, what are maybe one or two, maybe three different things that you're doing at the appointment that helps you to win the listing? Are there certain things that you've taken from our presentation that you say, Brandon, this is really working well, that's helping me secure new listings?
So I am admittedly, I'm telling you that I just started tuning in. In the beginning, I really wasn't coachable. I had something I thought was working for me. But now that I want to scale and I want to grow, now I'm really paying attention to the listing presentation, and everything. So
Sure.
I'm just starting to apply everything, but I make sure that I do, we start our rapport with a walkthrough of the home first. And at
Sure.
that point, I will, just begin talking with them. We go sit down and I explain how I make sure everything is pretty straightforward. Hey, this is why I'm here today. And this is what I'd like to accomplish. And, I bring the printed listing with me. Have you ever seen this? I show them this and we begin that conversation. I make sure that it's relational.
Yeah. I mean, you're not beating around the bush. You're being very upfront. We call that setting the agenda, so the intentions are clear. And then you gain their agreement to say, all right, great, we're both on the same page. And then from that point, a conversation is very simple. I guess my question for you too is, what was it that made you this switch go off where you've told me a couple times, I'm now paying attention. What was it that caused you to say, all right, let me dig in here versus tune out? Did something happen where you're like, enough is enough, what I'm doing is not working? What was it?
I was having a conversation with Julian, another member of the group, and I started asking myself, why am I not paying more attention? Why am I not being coachable? And so it started with just getting quiet about, what is it that I really want? I seem to have plateaued a little bit with about 15 sales a year, and I want to grow beyond this. And so I started asking myself, and I had to admit that, hey, although whatever I have that's working for me, I gotta, in humility, submit that and learn and grow and open up again. So it
That's
was through
phenomenal.
getting quiet.
I mean, we just talked about on a podcast yesterday, literally, Christian, that very thing, that sometimes agents have an ego that gets in their way of their own success, and they have to surrender to the fact that they don't know it all. They have to be, like you said, have some humility and say, well, let me just surrender and let me just, like you said, plug in. Let me be coachable. And
Right.
you don't have to carry the weight of the world, and be Superman. You don't have to, right? People have walked before you. So that's amazing. I guess what advice would you give, Christian, if there is a real estate agent maybe just getting started, or they've been in this business for a couple years and they're just struggling? I mean, they just can't really get their business off the ground. Is there something that you could share with them that you think would be useful?
Well, I would wonder, are they actually doing the work? Because
Mm.
when we are calling, we are getting results. But I would say here's a challenge. Listen to 6 months worth of Monday coaching calls. Even if you're not actively on the calls, just listen, and you're going to start to pick up tips and perspectives. And the training is going to change your approach, and it's going to change things. But I would wonder, are they actually calling?
Mm. Yeah, no, that's a great question. And is there, I mean, I would assume that would be one thing you would do differently. But if you went back in time 5 years, if you could go back in time and you got your license all over again, and you saw that Christian coming out of the testing center, I passed my test, what would you tell that Christian knowing what you know right now?
Be coachable.
Mm.
Submit, be humble, and listen and learn, because what you've got is going to take you so far. And now, and to continue remaining open to coaching.
I love it. Well, Christian, listen, congrats on a phenomenal year. I can't
Thank you.
wait to see what you do in 2023, but truly, congrats. I know you've been in the program for a couple of years. To see how far you've come is truly inspiring, which is why I want to have you on the podcast today. And now I want to thank you for inspiring others who are exactly where you were a couple of years ago, feeling like the old Christian. And so you've inspired a lot of people, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you for leading the way. Thank you for having me.
I'll talk to you soon, brother. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Brandon.
Bye-bye.